Our legend continues. Welcome back to Sanders Report. I'm Greg, and if you're enjoying the content we're producing, please consider following that link at patreon.com/Sanders Presents and supporting us on our Patreon. We have two tiers available, a $3 tier and a $5 tier. At that $5 tier, you truly become legend, and your name is carved into our mythical Nern stone at the base of the tower. In addition to that feature where you appear in every video, you also receive monthly comic book drops. To all of my patrons, thank you all so much for your support, for making this content possible, and thank you for your sponsorship. So, this is our spoiler-free review for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I guess I will start because I have my notes here, and this is spoiler, so I'm having to touch this very carefully, but that's what she said. Anyway, I guess I'll start saying I went into this with the expectation that I knew 100% of it. That I knew 100% beat, and beat, right? I knew about 90, which was a thoroughly enjoyable experience. It was a thoroughly enjoyable experience. You could, or at least you can see where, the film, you can see where the film changed. You can see where the additional photography came in. You can see how the film took shape over its life, which is natural and normal. The only difference is that it's our awareness, because the age of social media, the age of the internet, information's out there. It's so easy to track and follow all this information that you can see the life of a film through its production, from its pre-production to its production to its post-production. You can see all of that. These stories all get out. And so you can chart the evolution of it, and that's a part of the culture, right? So we all go in with certain expectations. We absolutely do. We 100% all go in with expectations. All of mine were met. All of my expectations were met. When I was surprised, it was a good surprise. When I was when I was taken aback by something, that's not something that I'm not going to hold that against the film. You know what I mean? I understand every decision that was made here and how it can leave certain doors open, right? Let's get the main cast out of the way. And we're only going to talk about certain cast members. There's a lot. There's a lot to talk about, right? And I know I say this all the time, but that's what makes this kind of spoiler-free stuff. There's a lot to really get into. You know what I mean? The cast list that versus the actual cast of the film, and where I was surprised. Rachel McAdams surprised me. America Chavez surprised me. I'm not going to say Stephen Strange surprised me, but I enjoyed Doctor Strange being on display. I enjoyed Stephen Strange here, and it's something that has grown on me throughout the course of his venture into the MCU. I guess I'm not seeing Multiverse of Madness for Doctor Strange. You know what I mean? I've not hidden that. I haven't. I've not hidden that. So call it bias, call it whatever, but I didn't see Multiverse of Madness for Doctor Strange. I saw it with the idea of this being a turning point for the MCM, the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. But I did like Strange in his movie. Wanda is the best thing about this film, in my opinion. Could also be bias, because Scarlet Witch / Wanda, one of my favorite characters in Marvel Comics. Love that character. Love Elizabeth Olsen's portrayal. Loved her since her first appearance in Age of Ultron, and still love her. I absolutely love her arc. Now but to talk about her in specifics is like the whole. It's like the whole damn movie. So, and this is where, okay, bear with me. There's the leaks, right? If you've watched them, if you've watched our videos on the leaks, you will pretty much know this movie. You will have the same surprises I did. But if you watched our leak video that pretty much covers everything that was filmed during principal photography, you pretty much got it. And then there's the surprises, and again, you'll be able to chart the changes. You can see exactly what changed, and you can see who changed. Let's put it that way. But you know that to talk about this film is to talk about Wanda. At least in my opinion. That's how I felt. That's how I felt with the leaks. That's how I felt going into the film. I had an expectation for Wanda in this film, and it exceeded those expectations. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was surprised by certain decisions with Wanda's character, but I was never disappointed. You know what I mean? And it's a weird balance going in knowing what a movie is for over a year, right? Knowing what this movie's going to be and having that expectation. It's hard to check that at the door. It is. It's hard to check that at the door. And I'm not a fucking professional. I'm just a fan. I think if Wanda didn't work, then this film would have fallen apart. And the great thing is that Wanda, it works. It works. She's incredible. She is the linchpin. I mean, and you'll see, and we'll get to talk about it more in depthly, but I don't see how you leave this film like disliking Wanda or disliking her portrayal. I think everything worked here. I think even the moments that are the tropey Marvel moments, I think it all works. We know what we expect from a Marvel film, but they still managed to give a story and to give an arc to these characters, and to then the complication of America Chavez, the complications that is the Illuminati, because we can say the Illuminati, like that's not hidden. I can't get into it too much, but we can, because that gets into significant spoiler territory, but we can look at it and we can, for me, it all worked. It all worked. Are there things that I, as a fan, would have been like, you know what, if I was writing it, if I was doing this, I would have done that differently? Yeah. But again, that's part and parcel of it. No one is going to walk away from a project looking at it the same way. Whether you're a storyteller or what have you, you're going to look at something and go, I would have done that differently, because we come with our own baggage. Sam Raimi, his directorial work within the MCU in this case is, again, for me, some of the highest quality directing we've had. I mean, his pedigree shows. I consider Sam Raimi a brilliant director. I do. I consider him a brilliant director. And when he's able to work, you can see it in his projects, and I think it shows thoroughly throughout this film. I think the spirit of Sam Raimi is alive and well in this film, and you can't always say that. You can't always feel the director in a Marvel film or in a DC film, because sometimes they get lost. They are, at the end of the day, they're corporate. These are corporate characters, and identity can get lost. Not always, but it can, and it doesn't get lost here. Sam Raimi's charm, his sensibility, it's on full display, especially one particular sequence. There is one sequence that I don't know how other people will feel about it. I guess it depends on what you go in with. I guess it depends on what you're a fan of. I guess it depends if you know Sam Raimi's work. I mean, there's a lot of different types of baggage that go with this. But there is a sequence in this film that I just think puts it all on full display. And it's just on its own, isolated, might be one of the best sequences in a Marvel movie. I mean, that might be a little hyperbolic because I've only seen it once, and I might feel different. I don't know where ultimately I would rank it. This particular sequence, but it might be one of the best. I mean, at least in a film saga with nearly 30 films, I think this. I mean, I in terms of like if we were ranking specific sequences, like top 4, like for me anyway. But again, I have a different relationship with Sam Raimi films. I have a different relationship with certain characters. It's all different. This is the best Doctor Strange movie, which isn't saying much. I think that what's done, because I know everybody's going to want to talk about the Illuminati, and I have it in my notes, and I don't know how the fuck to talk about this. I know everybody, I know the Illuminati is the biggest deal, right? I know the multiverse of madness, all of that is the biggest deal. Set your expectations low. This is not an Avenger film. Okay? This is not a film that is about all these things coming together. I think you need to manage your expectations. Depending on what you expect the Illuminati's role throughout the course of the film to be, I think you set your expectations low, and you won't, then you won't be disappointed, right? You have to manage your expectations, because obviously with the title like Multiverse of Madness, there's a journey there, but there is the arc and there is the heart of the story. The heart of the story is Wanda. 100% the heart of the story is Wanda. And the film for me, never lost that. The film never lost the core of that story. From the tragedy, from the complications, and Wanda's journey and Stephen's journey, and their paths with the Illuminati, and the consequences of their actions. Which is saying a lot without saying anything. But I know it's the most asked thing. And it's unfortunately just not something I can answer in a spoiler-free. I can't name all. I can't just go down. I can't. From talking with all of you, I know everybody has different expectations for the Illuminati. Everybody has different expectations of who the members are going to be and who those members are going to be played by. You are going to be surprised. You are going to be taken aback. You might even be disappointed, depending on what you and who you expected someone to be and someone to be played by versus its execution and what that execution means. And it is a film that I so want to get into. I'm going to obviously, I'm going to try to schedule something, an actual live chat. Especially now, again, I know that I've been talking to some of my patrons. I know when they're kind of scheduling and lining up to see Multiverse of Madness. And so I'm going to give it some time. I want people, I want to make sure my patrons have seen it. I want to be able to have that conversation. I want my patrons to be a part of it. So I'm starting to narrow it down because I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what the response to this film is going to be. Because I think the response to this film is going to shape a lot. It's going to shape certain characters. It's going to shape the identities of certain characters. It's going to shape what becomes of some of the multiverse concept. I very strongly believe this is just my perspective, though. This is just me. I very strongly believe that the response to this is going to be very, very scrutinized, and will probably shape a good portion of, Marvel's multiversal journeys if they choose to continue down this route. I think, now again, I think the film has a very clear message, and we'll talk about that, and we will talk about that ending, and we'll talk about that sequence. And I'm curious to see if other people latch onto it, if I'm the only one, because again, it's a Marvel movie. There's a lot of there is spectacle, and there's a few sequences, but there's one that stood out to me, and I'm curious to see if that's going to be the majority, if a lot of people are going to gravitate towards it. So I'm really interested in that. If you know me, and us talking, I imagine as soon as you see the sequence, you'll be like, this is what Greg's talking about, and you'll either like it, you'll either like it, or you'll get why I like it. And then we can talk about it, right? But spoiler-free just sucks. Because it's such a weird dichotomy to go from leak. Okay, here's a spoiler-free review. You know what I mean? It's rough. Because my notes are just a whole bunch of bleeps and okay, I have to find a way to talk around this. It was impactful. Wanda's story was impactful. I understood Wanda's journey. Again, like I said, Rachel McAdams surprised me. America Chavez surprised me. America Chavez was wonderful. And again, I was so thrilled by America Chavez, by her introduction into the MCU, knowing she was coming, and they did not disappoint. Now, that's my perspective, of course, but for me, they did not disappoint. If you are a fan of America Chavez, if you've been waiting for this character, you're not going to be disappointed. I can't imagine you'll leave the theater disappointed, period. If you've been a fan of what Marvel's been doing, I can't imagine you being disappointed. If you loved No Way Home, I can't imagine you being disappointed. Right? But you have to manage your expectations. That's the key here. Here, as an example, we knew Andrew and Toby weren't going to be a part of the entire film. You know what I mean? We knew that was a part of the film. We had a muddy idea of when they came in, but we knew it was going to be confined and it was going to be concise, but that it was going to still be impactful, and it was all of those things. But if you were someone who heard that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were in Spider-Man No Way Home, and you immediately thought they're going to be there from the beginning, they're going to be a part of the whole film, we're going to visit their Earths, maybe you were disappointed. You get what I'm saying? You were disappointed because you thought that we were going to see Kirsten Dunst then, and you thought maybe we'll see Topher Grace or James Franco, even though he's a pedophile now. And you could have came away with a different set of expectations when you first heard about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. You would have heard, oh, they're in it, then it must mean all of this, and it didn't. And maybe you were disappointed because of that. You get what I'm saying? That's kind of the closest I can get. So, you got to manage your expectations. You got to manage the journey. We know the Illuminati's in it. We know what that means, right? In terms of the context of the multiverse. But at the end of the day, this is a story about Wanda. And I in a very big way, it is a story of consequence. And I think they pulled it off. I really do. I think they pulled it off. I liked it more than Endgame, but that's just me. I liked it more. I liked this way more than Endgame. I'm excited to talk about this. I'm excited to talk about spoilers and getting into it. I really, really am. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm very excited to see what people think about this film, how people walk away from it, what they think of Wanda, what they think of America, what worked and what didn't work in more specific detail. But this Sam Raimi's on full display here. This felt like a Sam Raimi film in the best ways, and it knocked it out. Beautiful film, top notch, really, really high quality. One of Marvel's best. They really are hitting a stride, and I feel that way anyway, and it's great to see. Because again, I haven't hidden it. I went into Multiverse of Madness not for Doctor Strange, right? Doctor Strange was great in his own movie, of course. Doctor Strange was great in this. I almost said something I probably shouldn't. I think that's too close to a spoiler. But I very much so enjoyed Doctor Strange. Don't get me wrong. But it just didn't feel so much. I feel like you could. I feel like you could have called this movie Scarlet Witch in the Multiverse of Madness. But I don't know. Maybe they weren't ready for it. I don't know. Maybe Doctor Strange, whatever. But I feel like, I do. I feel like you could have called this Scarlet Witch in the Multiverse of Madness. And that's me. Maybe other people will leave going, but anyway, oh man. There's a lot that I can't wait to talk about. There really is. We're going to get this, we're going to get a live spoiler chat. We're going to get that scheduled. I'm starting to have a clear idea of when my patrons are going to start seeing the film. So hopefully this weekend we're able to get it scheduled if I'm, if I can, finding free time and make, being available for it. But it will be clearly labeled for those still trying to avoid spoilers. I loved it. I had a lot of fun with it. And I always love being surprised. I always love being surprised. And it was a good time. It was a good time. Even with ending up knowing, 90, 95%, depending on how you want to shake out a couple of the little details. All right. So to my patrons, thank you so much for your support and for making this content possible. As I said at the top of the video, if you're able to support us and sponsor us, visit us at patreon.com/SandersPresents. That link is available in the description below. While you're down there, you can also join our amazing Discord community, The Tower. We have an invitation link in the description. And finally, my debut novel, 89 Instrument of Destruction, is available to order now from Amazon. So please check that out. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and share our content with your friends. It helps immensely with YouTube's analytics and algorithms. Above all else, and most importantly, stay safe, take care of others, and have a legendary day. Bye, everyone.